Going to turn to the French newspapers. Elena with us here on set as ever. Still talking about austerity, aren't they? All the French newspapers after the latest measures announced by the government. The paper's kind of looking at how it affects ordinary people, though, aren't they?
Hello again, Stuart. Yes, look at this. Sarkozy isn't protecting us. That's the headline at Libération. They've done a tour of France, a tour of a nation in crisis, as they put it, to go and look at some of the people who've been worst affected by this. So they've talked to farmers in the French countryside who are terrified their subsidies are going to be cut if the EU cracks back down and cuts the common agricultural policy. They've talked to single mothers in suburbs of Paris who spend half their day going to half a dozen different supermarkets to try and get all of the best promotions. They've talked to unemployed people in Dijon who even say, well, a day that I have enough to eat and my family has enough to eat, well, then for me, that's a good day. Of course, when people are in this kind of situation, it has an impact on their political views. And a lot of the people that these journalists talk to say that they just hold all the political ruling class in contempt. They think they're all the same and they've spent years spending the state's money on themselves. So a lot of them tell the journalists they plan to vote for the right-wing, far-right candidate Marine Le Pen.
And I can't believe this next one. Apparently the French aren't very good at looking after their money.
This is according to Le Parisien. Now, they say a quarter of French people apparently have no idea how much money they spend each month. Half have been overdrawn in the last year. And most worryingly, perhaps, when the journalist asked people, if you invested €100 at 2% interest for a year, how much money would you have at the end? Only 51%, that's only just half, came up with €102.
It's not that difficult, I have to say. I could work it out. It's not hard.
Yeah, even I could.
Exactly. It's not the French, not only the French, rather, who are suffering though, is it?
No, it's not only the French, of course, who have economic trouble. Here in Le Monde, we're looking at the crisis of being 20 years old and living in Athens. Of course, the youngest people have been the hardest hit by this economic crisis, and there are some quite shocking portraits here, some quite strong words. You have to believe you can achieve the impossible, one young actor tells the paper, otherwise you could never get up in the morning. One 36-year-old lawyer says, we're living in a state of permanent blackmail. She says she's got more and more work trying to help people who've been sacked to sue their former employees for redundancy money, but she's got less and less money to do it with. And one guy says, I just can't see the future. I'm trying not to be afraid, but I can't see beyond tomorrow. And even he says chaos may be the only solution.
There are some other things in the papers as well, aren't there? There's a controversy over nuclear energy.
Yeah, this is on the front page of Le Parisien. Look at this, the shock declarations of the CEO of EDF, France's national electricity company, which is 80% reliant on nuclear energy. Now, nuclear energy is becoming a political issue because the socialist candidate, François Hollande, is trying to strike a deal with the Greens to get them to tell their supporters to back him in the final round of next year's presidential election. But these negotiations have broken down because he's refusing to pull out of nuclear energy. Now, the CEO of EDF basically is threatening him with the dire consequences if he were to pull out of nuclear energy, saying 1 million people would lose their jobs and it could cost France €400 billion. So.
Yeah, it is a big thing here in France, isn't it, nuclear energy. You've got another story, haven't you, that happened last week when I was away.
Yeah. Remember Charlie Hebdo, the French weekly, caused quite a controversy last week, didn't it?
It did. They got firebombed, didn't they, after the front cover they had last week.
Yes, now, that had, of course, Mohammed on the front page and the subtitle Charlie Hebdo. This week, we've got Charlie Hebdo's cartoonist kissing passionately a Muslim man, as you can see there, under the headline, Love is Stronger Than Hate, and with the sort of burnt-out remains of Charlie Hebdo's offices in the background. So after their offices were burnt down and their site was hacked, their website, they've obviously decided not to back down.
Very brave stuff, very brave stuff.
Yeah, one more thing, Stuart. What date is it on Friday?
On Friday, I don't know what the date is today. Saturday was the 5th, so 5th plus 6 is the 11th.
It's the 11th.
Got it right.
Of the 11th, 2011.
Oh, right, okay.
Now, for numerologists and other sort of superstitious types, this is terribly significant. There's an article about this in Le Figaro. They've talked to Uri Geller, famous numerologist and spoonbender, of course, who's encouraging people to join him in meditation on that day. Apparently in Switzerland, thousands of couples have picked that day to get married. And in Spain, there's a special lottery where you can win €11 million.
11, 11, 11. Watch out for it. It'll be on your watch. All right, Elena, thanks a lot. That's Elena here with the French newspapers every day, of course.